One of the things that I like to say to people is, show me the data. I also know that statistics can also be fooled.
Heavily manipulated or fabricated. Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, well, let's take a worldview of someone who becomes guilty
Yeah.
because all the evidence shows up that he was quote unquote guilty.
Yes.
What wasn't shown inside of the evidence per se was basically he was threatened or whatever on
Yeah.
camera
Or
because of
yeah.
these certain geographic location. I mean, come on.
Yeah, or like the U.S. and CIA especially love to do. Like with the Boeing, the most recent thing I would say is the Boeing stuff.
Yeah.
Because remember how many fucking people just conveniently went and they died like a day or two
Yeah,
before they were supposed
vanished.
day or two before they were about to go onto the national stage in the Supreme Court, I think it was, or
Exactly.
whatever, to testify about the fraud and the dangers that Boeing Corporation
Yeah,
actually poses and all the the fraud and
come
everything
on.
they're doing.
That's absurd.
The crimes they're committing. And it's like every single time, conveniently, like day before, it was on average, is like the day before.
Yeah.
There's, I think, four. I don't think there's three. I think there's four of them actually. Went and they conveniently dropped dead, like the day to like 2 or 3 days before they went up there, and that's where actually the meme and the joke came from of blank is not suicidal. That's actually where at least that's where it got popularized, because one of the, I think it was the last person who conveniently showed up dead, they claimed it was suicide. But his family and his closest friends, including some colleagues at Boeing, were like, no, he was not. He was actually extremely motivated and very excited and confident to go up and give all the factual proof and the evidence and the data and the statistics and the files and the records from Boeing and his work with them of their fraud and of their crimes they've committed and everything. And he was literally preparing to do that. Actually, no, I don't think it was the last one. I think it was the one. I was thinking it was the one in the middle. I think it was like the second or third guy, because he was. I think he was the same one who went and he conveniently had a bullet hole in his head. He was found in this car, and I think it was the same day as the trial. And it was like he was literally getting in the car too, about to go to the fucking courthouse to testify. And conveniently, they're like, "Oh, he had a bullet hole," and said he killed himself. And yet, everything also, when you paid attention to it, the bullet hole was fucking through like the back corner of his head, through the other side.
Gosh.
And he's sitting in his driver's seat too, which is especially dumb. Of course, they planted the gun in the car. It's just like, fuck off,
Yeah, come
And
on.
and he had already called out about the first guy who got killed. He had already called it out publicly. He's like, he 100% was killed. He did not commit suicide. That's blatantly clear. Especially timing, everything else. I knew the guy. I had indirectly corresponded with him while working for Boeing. Well, us both working for him. No way. And then, I think he mentioned he was threatened or something like that at one point too. And it's like, this is clear intimidation tactics to try to get the rest of us to climb up and not say anything and not testify anymore. And then conveniently he shows up with a bullet hole in his head the same day.
Wow.
And that's when all these, like I said, all the things from his family and some of his colleagues, former colleagues and friends were like, he wasn't suicidal at all. He was extremely happy. He was extremely confident. He was actually more determined than ever with the killing of the other guy. Bring everything forward and expose him. And that's why obviously he died. He was killed because also the bullet hole where it went through his head is clearly execution. It's not, he didn't do that to himself. There's like a whole bunch of other things. It was a long enough ago now, though, that I don't remember all the details. I'd have to look it back up again. But basically, it was that, and then like there was some sort of I think he wrote, like, he journaled, especially from the point where the first guy got killed. Immediately, he started documenting and journaling everything and all of his thoughts because he wanted to make sure that there was a record that he was not suicidal. And of course, it was easily located and found, and it was proven he was not suicidal. And so in others, he was killed. And he literally said in it, if I show up dead within the few days of the trial or the day of, no, I'm not suicidal. Wow. And that I was killed. And like, cause he knew, he fucking knew it would happen. And so that's what really popularized the blank is not suicidal. Like, the recent Hassan Piker stuff with his dog Kaya, right? The shock collar shit. That's where the meme started getting used again, where it's like, Kaya is not suicidal, or like, remember, the dog is not suicidal. And then of course it changed to show that, and there was never a dog in the first place. There was no dog.
No dog
Which is the next natural progression yeah, in that story, and the fucking bullshit that Hassan was pulling. Like, okay, it wasn't, I didn't shock her. Okay, it wasn't a shock collar though. It was a vibrating collar. Okay, it was a shock collar, but the prongs were removed. What's the next progressive step? There was never a dog in the first place. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
there
know what
was
you're
never a
talking about.
dog in the first place. No, that's just a meme or something.
It's so stupid. People with that do data
Yeah.
and statistics and analytics and research and everything that
Yeah.
output papers, they're often intimidated.
Yes.
Especially if they do not accept the money that they're being pressured to take to produce a particular result. They will get their lives threatened.
Yes.
Very frequent. It happens way more frequently than people realize, especially in the US. The US is easily probably one of the most consistent places that happens. It's just that people around here are so self-preserving and arrogant that of course they're gonna fucking choose the cowardice, and they're gonna be like, okay, fine, I'll produce whatever, I'll say whatever you want, or I just won't testify, or I won't say whatever I'm gonna say. That's why also a lot of times
so true.
they'll also just, like, if it's a court case, they just pull out of the court case suddenly.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, you know what, or they'll denounce what they supposedly had as evidence, and they'll be like, I fabricated, I lied. It's like, no, you didn't, and we know you didn't, because especially if it involves a big corporation or it involves the government, that's because you got intimidated, and we already fucking know that. You got threatened, your family got threatened, and you don't want to risk it. You actually literally being killed. And then your reputation being completely fucking obliterated by the government and the corporation in the process because you didn't blick their boots and suck their dick and do as you were told.
Exactly.
It's the most US, it's literally a US standard procedure is what it is. It's
no
really
kidding.
stupid.
Or Russian oligarchs in that case.
It happens way more frequently in the US though.
True.
It's just that it's more particular in Russia usually than it is here. Here it's like it's a free for all. If you have any evidence to prove corruption, bullshit, and all that, they will fucking do that. Especially if it's a bigger governmental thing or project or corporate thing. But like in the regards to fabricated statistics, it's literally the easiest thing to do because even if you have no motivation to do it, if you're fucking bored, anybody with access to data or numbers can literally just immediately alter them. But yeah, they can input whatever the fuck they want. But like that's what TriMet and the IBR did recently. Like the IBR, I actually just today when we're recording this, Sunday the 18th of January 2026, I had just output a video that I had recorded. It was actually like a 3.25 hour recording, but I edited it down to an hour and 12 minutes with only like the most summarized, important, detailed like summary and history of the IBR especially, and thus ODOT and Tina Kotek's sport tampon in chief of Oregon.
Tampon.
And and I covered and exposed and explained the history of all the corruption and everything else, conflicts of interest and everything else with that. And like what the reason why I made that video is because finally all these experts in these fields, they're finally fucking saying and echoing everything I've said since its inception about it. Every last detail just about. Including that it is literally just the reanimated corpse of the CRC, the Columbia River Crossing. They're all agreeing also that it's now dead. Or that if it's not dead, it's about to be killed. Because they were withholding for 3.5 years. They lied through their teeth to the states, to the voters, to the board that they serve. They kept lying and saying, we don't have the new cost estimate numbers and projections. And they said that for 3.5 years straight, and they kept asking for an extension. So the December 2023, December 2024, and now December 2025. They kept showing up with absolutely nothing, and then they're like, can we have another extension? They're basically like my dad with fucking credit card debt and tax debt, but just in perpetual extension. Like we don't have the capability to give you those cost projections, but a journalist, Jaquise, I can't remember. I think it was. I don't know if it was his first or his last name, with the Oregon Journalism Project. He actually was 27 years with Willamette Week. And then he joined this independent organization called the Oregon Journalism Project. He got inside.
Yeah.
And he found out that from the inside of IVR, they did have a complete cost projection analysis completed and ready to go for the December meeting. They finished it in I think August of 2025. So months ahead of the fucking meeting where they were supposed to give the new cost estimate, and they lied and said, we still don't have a cost estimate. We still need a lot more time. Can we get another year extension? And he goes and digs in immediately and finds out that they lied about that and they had it the whole time from at least August. And so he released that as a result to the public, right? So it's a leak. And it tripled from 2022. So 3.5 years later, it tripled in price. So they had claimed it was going to be originally when they first launched and officially legally in 2019. The graphic, I show it in the chart for the price increases. I show actually in that video. So you want to, and so those articles, all these different articles from all these different places, the Urbanist, City Observatory, Clark County Today, obviously the Oregon Journalism Project, Willamette Week, they all fucking have it on there too. So if you want to verify it, you can go look at it. It was $3 billion in 2019. It was projected to be $6 billion, I believe, in 2022.
Yeah.
And now it's $17.7 billion in 3.5 years. And they lied and withheld that, saying we didn't have it. Yes, you fucking did. Clearly. And of course, in that video, I also explain how, like, Greg Johnson, an example of another place of their corruption, Greg Johnson, who was the lead administrator, the CEO for IBR since its inception, until he jumped ship like the rat that he is in October of last year, 2025. As soon as he was hired from a contractor for these kind of projects, WSP, to run the IBR then subsequently, immediately thereafter, decided to hire WSP, who is the VP of, before they poached him from it and then hired him for IBR to lead it. The IBR then, immediately after he gets instated, hires his fucking firm he just left as the VP of. Not just a conflict of interest, major corruption. There's so many other examples I could give.